Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Asgard here. Just a really quick update from the PTR. We have a little bit of adjustment happening. So we got the. So I'm just going to read out just a couple of announcements and give some thoughts. So the seasonal unit adjustment. Tiger Fist optimized the anticipation delay of Courageous Charge. Tiger Fist will no longer be affected by the disarmed effect of disruptors. Hero adjustments. Musket. The Yang Metal XV rune effect has been adjusted. Normal attack bullets are now replaced with buckshots. Basically, what they did is replace the that musket rune, which when I say that musket rune, I mean the deal 20% extra damage against weakened targets, and replace it with the normal attack, so now buckshot, which is kind of cool. It just means you could run a full-on shotgun build, and I find that quite hilarious. Though I do wish they kind of bring back the old version of 5 round rapid. Instead of having 3 pellets being shot out with each shot, I really liked it when it was just like when it was I think it was like the whole 12, or I think it was 9 actually. I don't think it was actually the 12 pellet version. I think it was the 9 pellet version. But yeah, I really wish they went back to that one because it it's the volume of pellets was the cool thing. Um, but nonetheless, I do think um, since I don't play musket, I'm not sure how this is going to affect a lot of people's build. But regardless, back onto the Tiger's Fist though. Um, on principle, I don't like units just ignoring mechanics, but Tiger's Fist kind of get away with it thematically because they don't have a weapon, so they can't be disarmed. But at the same time, it's like technically they can be. Like, I, what I mean by that is the disarmed effect basically stops all kinds of attacks besides charge. There's there's no particular reason why Tiger's Fist should ignore this mechanic besides thematically that the word is disarm, and like they don't use a weapon, so it's just like, oh, you can't disarm someone that doesn't have a weapon. Yes, you can actually disarm someone that doesn't have a weapon. It's like actually I'm being semant. It's like semantics here. Like I want to say that you can't just like rip off their arm or cut off their fist. It's it's just thematically it works, but on principle I don't agree that they should ignore this mechanic. There needs to be reasons why, and reasons both for and like pros and cons of why they should have these. And I mean, you can make up a really simple reason, and that's because they have really short range. That is pretty much a good enough reason if the units were balanced. They can't be disarmed, but they have really short range. The units that would have disarmed have quite long range, Orochis and the Onimushas. So it it makes sense. It makes sense that like the Tiger's Fist, because don't have a weapon, they can't be disarmed. So that's that. I'm gonna show you really quickly their optimized courageous charge. So if you got a keen eye, and I mean like this is very obvious for anyone that's seen the charge more than once. I mean like you probably only need to see the charge once to actually know what's happening. And it's good. It's good. Like, oh, funnily enough, you got the Ronin. So like I know Memealonas are really good because they have very little anticipation and they don't have a startup animation. Um, The Ronins are also the same. They also don't have it. Where are they? Oh, yeah, and they just went over Berserkers. Though their charge is untargeted, so yeah, it's heat-seeking. Oh, what am I doing? I don't need a target. So, what they've done is, like, they reduced the delay. As you can see, it's almost like a fraction of a second. Before, they would light up for a second and then start running. And this is really obvious while you're moving. In fact, while you're moving, and then charge. Boom! Before, you'd kind of have to wait. Like, there's a brief waiting. But now you just go straight into the charge, which is good. Makes the unit very fluid. And I definitely think a really key thing here is that they're not particularly designed as a brawler. They're definitely kind of a burst unit, and I mean, like, everyone's going to be able to use a unit as a burst unit. But realistically, you're just going to be running around, throw them in, bash them up, boom, 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 slap them away, and then run, and then do it all over again. Do it all over again. I'm pretty sure like most meta units, particularly like really strong ones with bursts, will kill these guys. These guys, again, they say they're brawlers, but they're really susceptible to burst damage, and you can't force a fight with these guys because they're just not innately tanky enough to survive the damage. Per model, as a per model basis, they're actually quite up there. From what I can tell, they're basically similar levels as Berserkers, but I can't seem to notice if they have multi-hit greater than 1. It seems like default their multi-hit is 1. Their punches are a 4-hit combo, and they dish out 2 sets of punches within 6 seconds or something like that. So we're a little bit faster, I think, than Berserkers, or slower. No, I think we're slower. I think we're slightly slower than Berserkers. So Berserkers, I would believe, have a much higher damage threshold, as in, like, they dish out way more damage because they also have +1. The main damage skill is, of course, the Tiger's Fury. But there is 14 of them, so the biggest thing here is that they're a half-sized unit that is at the meta level. If you had a 28-sized unit, these guys would straight up be meta. But because they're half-size, they're not at the meta level. But they're definitely designed strong enough for a lot of top-tier stuff. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit janky when you fight off against certain units. I think I've watched someone else do a testing, and they got beaten up by paladins. But that's kind of be expected. Paladins are kind of they're kind of sitting at the very top end of top tier while not being meta. And what I mean by meta, like, their design is not very much of an issue. It's their stats. So you got problems with the Wu Wei, which will just annihilate these guys in an instant. Of course, because I've been watching some other guys and talking to some of the other people that do testing, because I haven't been able to do testing myself. It seems like these guys are not as resistant to CC as I thought they were. I really do think if you're gonna have a Berserker-like unit, you gotta add more basic. Oh, man. And I mean, you gotta have to add CC immunity at this point, especially for a unit like this. And that doesn't have healing, by the way. So I think CC immunity is not so far-fetched on these guys just to get them to work. And frankly, their current stats and how they work only puts them into the top tier range. They don't put them into like they don't put them into the meta. So I'm gonna have to walk back my like assumption that these guys are definitely going to be used during tier 4. I think certain tier 4s completely shut out the Tiger's Fist. And it's going to actually be much harder to get them to work than I first initially thought. But yeah, um, you've definitely gonna be something like a burst unit, and you definitely want to take on fights where the unit you're facing doesn't have very much upfront damage. And that's kind of sad because just like, of course, everything that gonna have some level of upfront damage. There's very few things where it's just going to be, besides like hyper defensive units like the ISGs, Spear Sergeants, maybe the Stalwarts. Like the Myrmielona's charge, I don't know whether or not, like, if you smash their charges together, who would come out on top. But I feel like the Myrmielona's probably got enough damage to beat the Tiger's Fist. But also, it's because, well, no, I think their Courageous Charge is supposed to be CC immune, but because because it ignores block and causes knockdown, I think the Myrmielonas might actually just their charge might get cancelled out. Good thought experiment. Would love to test out, though. Um, I don't have anyone to help me with that, so sorry for taking up your time, but that is all for the update. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But other than that, my name is Edgar. Have a nice day. Bye for now.